Hello YouTube, welcome to another episode of Indecent Exposure. My name is Isaac and I'm here with my co-host James. Today we have Henry and Holly from Jofiesoft. How are you going?
Doing well.
Pretty good.
It's actually quite late for you guys, but we'll get through it. Now today we are diving into what you've called Videohole. It's an interesting looking game. I'm sure we'll get some answers to what exactly we've signed ourselves up for when we get into it.
We'll tell you everything we can.
Alrighty, jump into it, James. So, where did this game come from? Like, did you just want to make a crazy game?
This game actually came from kind of one day. I was working at this health food store, and
Okay.
I was just sitting at the cashier checkout counter thing, and the light was kind of coming in through the windows and casting these long shadows on all the shelves and things. And I thought that was kind of a neat look and kind of a somber tone or something. So I started kind of doing a prototype just of being a clerk at a store. Yeah, the only idea at the time was I liked those long shadows. And turns out that you kind of need a little bit more than that to base an entire game off of. And then I teamed up with Hollis like a year ago.
I mean, how this kind of all came about was Henry started it and I didn't even live in Atlanta in the time that I first saw online that Henry was working on it. And then when I moved here, Henry just shot me a text and was like, hey, you want to write my game? We had some like main ideas about like what was really going on or like what, you know, the underlying things, but mostly it was just a case of just writing it and rewriting it. And
I was fumbling around with the idea for probably about half a year off and on. I would pick it up and look at it, and we kind of solidified the idea, gave it a linear story arc, and actually made it.
So the game mechanics just sort of came along as you were making the game?
Yeah, everything was very kind of stream of consciousness, and let's put this in and let's put that in. And I didn't really code very much before I started this project. I had fooled around in Unity, but nothing really serious. And all of the game mechanics were kind of based around me figuring out simple things that you can do that would be somewhat engaging within my capabilities as a software person. So
they always say that humor is subjective. Did you find that some jokes of yours didn't land and that you had to take a second attempt at them?
definitely, I mean, I've probably went over this script like, I don't know, there's like 1,000+ lines of dialogue in the game.
Jeez.
And if you're doing a casual run of it, you're probably only going to see about 300 or 400 of them. You can miss like more than half the content by just going through the game as you're prompted to. So it was hard even to like get a reaction, like trying to sit friends and people down and say, play all of it, you know, like play every single thing, choose every single dialogue option. But definitely that, and also vice versa, like things that I didn't think were great at all, people were like, oh, that's so funny, and I'm like, really? But definitely it was a lot of like bouncing it off of people and trying to figure out what stuck.
Was there any specific inspiration for any specific character? Like maybe Gabby came from kind of a personality as someone you know in real life?
Oh, absolutely. Like people, I do a lot of writing, I guess. Like I'm always, and people are like, oh, what's your inspiration? And it's definitely a bunch of like just text message conversations that I have with my friends. And there are definitely, Gabby is definitely someone very specific that I know. I mean, with other things thrown in, but yeah, absolutely. Gabby is someone I used to be in a band with for sure. And
the boss is somebody.
The boss is someone I used to work with.
I know as well.
Yeah.
And I think
Do they know that they inspired these characters?
Well, I'm not even sure if they've played the game yet, but I'm sure if the person who Gabby is based on were to play the game, they would probably see the similarities. Like I never ripped off anything that person specifically said, but it is person, just I guess stoked on metal and just really A+ attitude, and they probably get it.
And their
Just go,
name.
hey, that's me.
Exactly. The sort of people that you work with when you're the kind of a daydreamy type and you got the coworker that's just always on and always like, doing everything right. Yeah, they probably get it.
Hate those people.
Yeah, right.
You hear that, not Gabby?
Yeah. Take that. You know who you are.
Yeah. Cheer the hell down.
Yeah, you can have lots of conversations with all of these characters between kind of objectives. You can talk to them multiple times and go down conversation trees, and that's kind of how you
Get like collectibles and stuff.
yeah, like get the cassette tapes and whatnot.
So what kind of exposure have you had for this game yet? Have you had many YouTubers play it?
We had one guy claim a world record.
End the sentence there.
We had one guy get on YouTube and claim the world record speed run.
Yeah.
Did it in 4 minutes.
It was 4 minutes. There was one Steam curator who
Oh yeah, this was good.
yeah, who like claimed that the game was non-functioning, unplayable. And I thought, like, that's crazy. There's no way, because whoa.
I'm inside some books right now.
Wait.
All right, get out of there. Get out of
Wait.
there.
What?
Oh,
I did it.
Oh, you opened it.
Yes.
Incredible. Yeah, so this guy has the audacity to just claim the game fully broken, which that's not the case. This is the most
claim
solid.
might have a little more merit if I can just walk through a bookcase.
Nah. So their whole thing was illogical vertical movement.
What?
And I didn't know what that was, and I assumed that like they maybe English was a second language or something. And I went to their curator website or something, and they had this whole
manifesto.
Yeah, is like video game. I assume it's like inverted axis. Like if you were, playing a flight sim or something, you would like pull your mouse down and the camera would go up, maybe.
Yeah, that's an inverted camera, yeah.
Yeah. So that he I don't know.
He was
this person,
going through like a bunch of games and left the same review on every game that the
yeah, thousands of games containing illogical vertical movement.
because they didn't have an inverted axis.
And reading the essay didn't really clue me into the, I don't think I really got it. I read the essay, but I didn't really get it.
Right.
So that's the kind of
what it
exposure we're working with.
I wonder what it takes to become a curator on Steam.
Not much.
I think you can be a curator right now if you
The
Believe
bar
in
is on the floor.
Yeah.
Right, so is it frustrating to get, I guess, sort of internet trolls saying bad things about your game?
I mean, I think it's expected.
Yeah. That's like one of the things that
No!
Well, you did it. You just speedrun.
I knew it. As soon as I walked into the bookcase, I was like, oh yeah.
In the speedrunner community, this is called Vault Clip.
Yeah. There's another Twitch streamer
You know
who
what, I'll come
said
back to this later.
he said world record no VC. And we were like, what does that mean? And we found out that he's talking about Vault Clip. Like, you did it.
Right. Okay. Hold on, James. Can you take out that flatbread for a moment?
Mm.
Can I ask a question about how this texture came to be?
Yeah, it was Google Images.
You just took a picture of flatbread and slapped it on a model.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's the only in-game model that has a realistic texture. I feel like in our 2D inventory kind of, you know, computer-based stuff, there's more realistic textures, but I didn't know how to convey flatbread with like one color, one or two colors. I think it would be impossible. So
And it was
I
adamant
decided
it had to be flatbread.
it had to be. I don't. Well, I never really thought about if it had to be, but
Seemed like it had.
it felt right.
I think that applies to a lot of this game, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, we're pretty upfront. We've told you it's a very stream of consciousness sort of development.
So this game's not free. I think it was like $4 on itch.io. I don't know how much you put it on Steam for. You're allowed to call gamers entitled, but have you got any feedback that it's not worth the price that you've put on it?
No, we've gotten some feedback that like it's, there are bugs. Not much compared to what we have, and I mean we are gonna patch the bugs. Like we're not we're not trying to just leave it, but most of the feedback's been pretty positive and like has just kind of concerned the mood and story and
Yeah, all the feedback is we haven't had a single negative review yet, but we only have around 13 reviews. So I think as that number
it
climbs,
just hasn't been. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
people will start to. We just haven't gotten that much exposure.
Do you have any worry that people would like look at the game and expect something of better quality?
I mean, they kind of already have, and because it's kind of like the whole episodic thing, calling the game a finished product that's like, yes, it is in itself like done. We're done with it. We ran out of time, sort of, but well, didn't run out of time, but I mean, we have gotten feedback where like, oh, I'm excited for episode 2, so like I guess at this point we're kind of considering it more of like a kind of like a demo for like what's going to be a full game. So
Okay.
You get enough episodes together, and then we could stitch them together at some point. I'm sure.
yeah.
Well, if
Yeah,
you are
we-
making multiple episodes, you could iron out all the bugs in the second episode.
Yeah.
It's also this is our first game, and it is a little wonky, but I'm still okay with it. I'm proud of what I was able to achieve, and I learned a lot doing it, and I think I'm only going to get better at making games, I guess. So even if it's a little awkward, and I think the awkwardness comes from just not having more than 2 friends with a PC to be able to like playtest it. We could probably get at least 5 people to playtest the next one, just through like contacting people on Twitter and stuff, and like meeting people. So I think it's all about upward trajectory and growth.
Did you end up making any changes to the game based on that feedback?
Yeah, I mean, we had like there was a lot of minor stuff. You do definitely have that attitude by the end of development where you're like, I didn't show you this so you could tell me to change things, like getting really irritated about it. But we definitely did make edits based on like what people told us.
I thought most of the feedback was pretty reasonable.
Yeah, for sure.
We had so the feedback was probably like 5 or 6 of our friends. So
Yeah.
that's the playtesting. You can throw them with a right click, by the way.
Oh yeah, come back. Oh,
And that was actually that was a bug that turned into a feature, a somewhat story immersion breaking feature, because their pathing, every time you grabbed them, it would just like mess up, and they couldn't get back on their paths, and they couldn't go back to the TV or whatever. So I just kind of decided to have them self-destruct. It seemed like the easiest thing to do at the time.
The most reasonable thing to do.
Yeah.
Wish we had a button in real life just to engage in deep conversation or not.
Don't do that.
But then you'd always choose the don't do that, and then you'd miss out on a lot of important conversations.
Yeah.
Does it ever disappoint you to see people play the game and miss some dialogue that you spent time creating?
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say it bums me out. Like, play the game any way you want to. Like, that's kind of the attitude I've just got to have. But I think most of the dialogue that I really made sure was just really tight and really, good. It stays pretty much with the story you have to follow to get to the end. So, I mean, I tried to do that for all of it, but like, I tried to make the content consistent enough throughout to where I wouldn't be disappointed if. So it's like, oh, you missed the best writing. I just kind of want the quality of it to be consistent enough to where that doesn't matter.
So this is the first game that you two have made?
Yep.
Yeah. What brought you to making a game?
I've made some. I've done game jams before, and it's really fun, and I really enjoy it. And I used to be an aspiring sound designer, and I kind of got into game dev through having a contract gig that required Unity, and I had to like learn to do some scripting to trigger audio in the way that isn't built into Unity itself.
Right.
And yeah, I really liked it. I like programming. It's really fun, but it's just endless. It's like just this massive hole of knowledge, and you'll never know enough, and you'll never know what you want to know. So I don't know. I got kind of into doing game jams, and then I've always wanted to make a game of my own that was a little bit larger scale. I mean, I think this is it's about movie length. There's a lot of work that goes into something that is that long, even though it's not that long, especially with the minimal gameplay that this game has. Yeah, I've just always got ideas for games, and this is one that I started, and I kind of wanted to make sure I finished it because it's really easy just to not finish things.
Was it difficult to actually get around to finishing this game?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say the hardest part is just the sticking with it for the amount of time it takes. Like I don't make any money off of this really. I mean, I charge $4 for this, but I figure if you spend $4 on a beer at a restaurant, then I think the time investment that I invested in this is worth $4, and that's also split between two people. So I really enjoyed making it. I think I learned a lot. I think the biggest frustration is just like looking at something that you've spent so much time on, and then realizing that it's going to take a lot more time to get it done, and then just doing it anyway, and not having a lot of free time to do stuff. Like throughout most of the development, I was just working at like a deli or whatever. Hollis still works at that deli. And, when you come home from work, you kind of want to just go to like take a nap maybe and cook dinner. And I think the hardest part is just forcing yourself to not do that and hop on your computer and have to learn how to fix the broken fucking train in your game because your player's getting launched like 1,000 miles an hour in a direction for no reason, and there's no no stuff on the internet that tells you how to fix that. So you're kind of in it alone. And I think that's definitely the hardest part.
I mean, the fact that the train isn't operating on a "this always happens all the time" basis does seem like it's a little prone to having things go wrong.
It's a
Oh my
strange
God.
angle as well.
Tell me about it. Yeah, I know.
The thing is, every time we've had someone play test it or watch someone play it, they never really go this way. Like they kind of just keep going between the
Yeah, like a semicircle kind of.
they never
back
come
and
around
forth.
and make a full circle, so it's cool to see. But yeah, it's
It
quite
is
an
odd
angle.
that there's not a fourth station over here for you to
Yeah,
hop off.
yeah.
If I made a fourth station, then I'd have to make another character, and that's kind of like the most time-consuming part of this.
I mean, this definitely seems like a game that I think many YouTubers would love to play.
Yeah, that'd be cool. My problem is I don't really know YouTubers who play games, so I kind of didn't
Yeah.
know even who to reach out to.
Yeah, I was pretty new to Twitter. I never tried that. I didn't know if that was like a breach of like etiquette to just like tag some random person in my game like, hey, look at this. So we kind of just kept doing the whole screenshot Saturday thing, and we got on what was it that the podcaster mentioned? 5-second trailers, 5-second Steam trailers or something.
Oh yeah, it's just I think it's a bot, but it basically will post something about every Steam game released, and for whatever reason, a few podcasters like saw our game from that and did episodes about it. So
That was pretty much the exposure we were dealing with, because we honestly weren't expecting any kind of like we were just kind of expecting like, oh, our friends will play it and that'll be that. But
Yeah.
the exposure we did get that was like people, you know, in other countries and in other places in the world was from like, yeah, pretty much like bots that like retweeted the trailer or whatever. So next time, probably the best thing we could do next time, besides, you know, making a cleaner product, would be to step up our social media game a little bit.
So I think what we're about to see, you had, in the trailer for the game.
Mhm.
Yep.
Were you okay with just spoiling it like that? With no concerns about that?
Yeah. So this hadn't even been made when I made the trailer. I just thought it would look cool. Like half the stuff in this game is just kind of imagery that I thought would be somewhat compelling.
I
And
think
then
we actually got the idea for this scene from the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like I want this to be in here. We'll justify it later. And luckily Holly was able to just kind of weave a narrative that somehow got here.
Interesting. Who was your favorite character to write for, Ollie?
I mean, it was a lot of fun to do like all the kind of Adult Swim type like stupid humor with the boss, where things get like really serious and existential like out of nowhere in a kind of dumb way. So that was fun, but I would say at the end of the day, like, you know, Gabby is like my kid. I really wanted to make her character like interesting and fun to hang out with, because she's like supposed to be the main character's best friend. So that was definitely the one that I was like coming back to like right up to an hour before launch, trying to just get like, there was a point where probably 2 weeks before launch, like the script was done, but I just kept coming back into like, oh, gotta change this, and that's sort of how I always am with writing. And I'm like, I'll just be doing this up till like 30 minutes before we launch the game.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you both again for coming on. I hope you had a great time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Now, down below, you will find many links if you want to play the game for yourself, submit your game to be on the show, and/or support us and the developers. I hope you'll check that out. Regardless, we will catch you in the next episode.
Cool. 1 hour 27.
Yeah, a little longer than normal, but that's all right.
That's right.